I was a mannequin in a store window. So
Hang on. But then, a massive cinematic flop rattled Hollywood, followed by an eerie, unforeseen disappearance from the spotlight. Where did Geena Davis go? Let's go back to Wareham, Massachusetts. The girl originally named Virginia Elizabeth Davis entered the world on January 21st, 1956, in a tiny coastal town in southern Massachusetts. Her brother, Dan, coined the moniker Geena to avoid confusing her with their Aunt Virginia, and that name followed her forever. Her dad, William, worked as a civil engineer and deacon. Lucille, her mother, supported the local school system as an aide. Coming from rural Vermont, her parents maintained a humble, disciplined home life built on a rock-solid foundation of hard work. Music defined her early years. After mastering piano and flute, the teenager became skilled enough to play the organ for Sunday services at the local Congregational church. While attending Wareham High, standing nearly 6 feet tall, left her feeling like an awkward outsider who stood out for all the wrong reasons. Initially a clumsy, reserved kid, she hadn't yet developed her future star power. During her teens, an exchange program in Sweden helped her achieve lifelong fluency in the Swedish language. Post-graduation, she started at New England College before making the jump to Boston University's elite drama program at the College of Fine Arts. College didn't result in a degree, largely because she missed a major tryout for the theatre program. Word is she was traveling through Sweden at the time. By the late 1970s, she had moved to Manhattan, though the city was tough on her. She survived on tips and retail wages, before moonlighting as a window display. On Saturdays, she would stand perfectly still as city life buzzed past. Everything changed once she signed with the Zoe Agency, a prestigious outfit that booked both runway and commercial gigs. Through them, she scored a spot in those famous lingerie catalogs, reaching millions of living rooms nationwide. She spent her Saturdays as a literal human statue in a storefront, a far cry from the acting career she wanted. It was humble work, but it kept her going. Then, that catalogue shoot flipped the script. Searching for fresh faces for his next big comedy, Sidney Pollack noticed Davis and brought her on board for 1982's Tootsie. Cast as soap star April Page, her screen time was limited, yet the movie was a juggernaut. It became 1982's second biggest hit, scoring 10 Oscar nods. From Tootsie to Beetlejuice and eventual Oscar glory, her journey began as April Page. That 1982 blockbuster pulled in 10 Academy Award nominations. Though her part was minor, it showcased her talent to massive audiences in one of the year's most popular movies. Relocating to LA, she landed the role of Wendy Killian on Buffalo Bill. The Dabney Coleman sitcom was a critical darling, with 11 Emmy nods between 1983 and 1984. After spots on Knight Rider and Family Ties, she led the 13-episode 1985 series Sarah. While her television presence grew, her movie career climbed at a more modest pace. 1985 found her in Transylvania 6-5000, a Yugoslavian-filmed comedy that bombed with audiences. However, she also snagged a minor part in Fletch, the Chevy Chase vehicle that actually dominated the box office. Around that time, she met Jeff Goldblum while working on that same comedy set. Their immediate connection blossomed into a marriage and 2 major on-screen pairings. David Cronenberg's The Fly in 1986 and Earthgirl's Easy in 1988. The Fly turned into a massive critical and financial triumph, doubling as a disturbing horror flick and a deep meditation on physical decay. Davis anchored the entire production, providing a soulful performance that garnered immense praise from critics. Despite the fact that gender disparity in film hasn't changed since 1946, her career took flight regardless. She and Goldblum wed on November 1st, 1987, setting the stage for 3 pivotal high-caliber roles in 1988. In Tim Burton's dark masterpiece Beetlejuice, she played Barbara Maitland, half of a dead couple haunting their own home. The film's stellar cast featured Alec Baldwin, Michael Keaton, and a very young Winona Ryder. Produced for just $15 million, the movie pulled in $73.7 million globally. This success proved she was a bankable star who could deliver a sincere, grounded performance in a wild studio comedy. That same year, she and her husband shared the screen again in the musical Earthgirls Are Easy. For the public, their collaboration felt like a sweet, cinematic celebration of their real-life romance. Lawrence Kasdan brought Ann Tyler's 1985 novel to life by directing the hit film The Accidental Tourist. Davis portrayed Muriel Pritchett, a a spirited dog trainer whose warmth and messy charm perfectly balanced William Hurt's role as a grieving, divorced writer who kept his emotions locked away. Muriel lives with her young son in a modest home, frequently sporting mismatched outfits. She possesses a rare honesty, asking the blunt questions that most polite society chooses to ignore. She felt truly vibrant on screen. Davis delivered the performance with such joy and precision that the entire movie shifted energy whenever her character appeared. At the 61st Academy Awards, she pulled off a major upset by winning the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. Everyone expected Sigourney Weaver to win for one of her 2 nominated roles that year. Instead, 32-year-old Davis officially cemented her status as a top-tier Hollywood star. Her 3-year marriage to Jeff Goldblum ended in October 1990. In her 2022 memoir, Davis looked back on that time fondly, describing it as an enchanted period. Despite enduring freezing shoots and just a tee and leggings, Davis starred in 2 landmark films between 1991 and 1992. These roles came to define an era. These movies showcased women taking charge in genres that typically ignored them. One prime example, Ridley Scott's Thelma and Louise, hit theaters in May 1991. Geena Davis stepped into the shoes of Thelma Dickinson, a housewife whose entire existence was confined to 4 kitchen walls. Having wed at a tender age, she lived for a man who looked right through her, until a disastrous getaway revealed her hidden fire. Susan Sarandon starred as Louise, a confidant harboring her own secrets and a desperate urge to run. While reviewers could not agree on the movie, it absolutely set the theater-going public on fire. People labeled it a bold feminist odyssey, a tale of vengeance, and a definitive manifesto. Some experts feared its edge, while others cheered its arrival, but every viewer felt the spark. This role landed Davis her 2nd Oscar nod for Best Actress. Both she and Sarandon scored nominations, creating a legendary showdown where 2 co-stars battled for the same trophy. A 27-year-old Brad Pitt stole scenes as a smooth-talking hitchhiker the duo met along the way. This breakout performance effectively launched his career into the stratosphere. Eventually, the Library of Congress recognized the masterpiece, enshrining it forever within the National Film Registry. Directed by Penny Marshall and debuting in July 1992, this classic celebrated the women who played pro ball from 1943 to 1954. Davis portrayed Dottie Hinson, the Rockford Peaches star athlete caught between her immense skill and societal pressure to stay small. The cast was rounded out by heavy hitters like Tom Hanks, Madonna, Laurie Petty, and Rosie O'Donnell. Not only did the film crack the top 10 list of 1992 hits, but it also netted Davis a Best Actress Golden Globe nod and became a timeless classic in the years that followed. When Tom Hanks shouted about the lack of crying in our national pastime, he cemented one of the most iconic film quotes ever, while Davis reigned as Hollywood's most profitable and respected star. With an Academy Award already on her mantle and 2 consecutive summer blockbusters under her belt, the 36-year-old actress seemed to have the entire film world at her command. Then came the storm of Cutthroat Island and the heavy price paid for it, a bizarre period in 90s cinema where Geena Davis found herself trapped in a narrative that few people fully understand even today. Riding high from her biggest hits, she tied the knot with Finnish filmmaker Rennie Harlin in September 1993, a mere 6 months after their initial meeting. Her management team set up the introduction because she was hungry for a high-octane action role that would pivot her career into a whole new gear. Having just crushed it with Die Hard 2 and Cliffhanger, Harlin felt like the perfect choice to guide her into playing Morgan Adams, a fierce treasure-hunting pirate in a 17th century Jamaican adventure. The powerhouse behind hits like Terminator 2 and Basic Instinct, Carolco Pictures, stepped up to finance the ambitious independent project. However, the studio was drowning in red ink before cameras even rolled, and Michael Douglas walked away when he realized Davis's character was stealing the spotlight from his own. Matthew Modine eventually stepped in to fill the vacancy, though he lacked the massive box office draw required to carry such a heavy production. The $60 million budget ballooned out of control during grueling shoots in Thailand and Malta, plagued by script chaos and endless logistical nightmares. Final estimates put the price tag between $92 and $115 million, and despite wanting out, both the star and director were legally forced to see the disaster through to the end. Harlin later admitted they practically begged for a release, while Davis felt the crushing weight of leading a massive pirate epic, a genre that rarely worked with women on a budget that demanded a record-breaking performance just to break even. They pushed through the chaos in Southeast Asia and the Mediterranean, even as a $1 million prop ship literally went up in flames during the shoot. Just 6 weeks before the movie could even hit theaters in November 1995, Carolco Pictures officially declared bankruptcy. Released during the Cutthroat holiday season of 1995 against titans like Toy Story and Jumanji, the film flopped at number 13, scraping together a measly $10 million at home. After only generating $16 million globally, it was officially branded by Guinness World Records as the biggest financial disaster in movie history. This monumental crash effectively buried the pirate genre for nearly a full decade, until Disney struck gold with Jack Sparrow in 2003. Their follow-up project, The Long Kiss Goodnight, also failed to catch fire in October 1996, despite a razor-sharp script and an electric partnership with Samuel L. Jackson. By then, the industry's perception was set, and Davis was unfairly labeled as a liability in the action genre. The back-to-back failures killed her career momentum, and she soon divorced Harlin after discovering he had fathered a child with her personal assistant. By October 1998, the marriage was over, capping off 4 brutal years of professional failure, studio bankruptcy, and the destruction of her hard-earned A-list status. She joked that her politeness nearly killed her, leading into a quiet period of unexpected personal growth and redirection. While it looked like she had vanished, the turn of the millennium was actually a time of total reinvention for the former superstar. She returned to the screen in 1999's Stuart Little, playing the warm-hearted Eleanor Little in the beloved adaptation of the children's classic. Working alongside Hugh Laurie and Michael J. Fox, the film became a massive hit, spawning 2 sequels that kept her in the spotlight through 2005. She also gave the small screen a shot with her own self-titled sitcom on ABC, though only managed to survive for 1 single season. Meanwhile, her performance in 1996's The Long Kiss Goodnight started earning a dedicated cult following among action fans. Playing a suburban mum who slowly remembers her past as a lethal government hitwoman, she delivered a performance that was both hilarious and incredibly tough. Even though the box office was soft at first, the real story of this era happened entirely away from the glitz of Hollywood. After watching Justin Huish win gold at the 1996 Atlanta Olympics, she became so captivated by archery that she picked up a bow and fell into a deep obsession. She committed 5 hours every day to training, and by 1999, she was actually competing against 300 women for a spot on the United States Olympic team. She fought her way to the semi-finals, placing 24th out of the final 28, just missing the cut for the top 16. At 43 years old, she still managed to secure a wildcard spot to compete on the actual Olympic course in Sydney later that year. This sudden pivot into competitive sports says more about her character than any movie role ever could. What started as a casual interest became a professional-level pursuit, proving she could hold her own against the best athletes in the nation. Standing there at 43 alongside girls half her age who had trained since birth, she experienced what she called the most intense out-of-body moment of her life. Surrounded by 50 silent news crews, she had to master the absolute stillness that the sport of archery demands under extreme pressure. In 2001, she married surgeon Reza Jarahi and started a family, welcoming a daughter and twin boys over the next few years. Their eventual split in 2018 led to a strange legal battle where she claimed they were never actually married, a case that wasn't settled until 2021. After surviving the drama, she returned to the spotlight in the hit series Commander-in-Chief. Taking the lead in 2005, she played Mackenzie Allen, a vice president who suddenly finds herself leading the nation after the president's death. As the first major TV drama centered on a female commander-in-chief, Davis played the role with incredible poise and quiet power. The show was a critical darling and won her a Golden Globe in 2006, but then the network's poor decisions started to take a toll. Scared of the ratings power of American Idol, ABC pulled the show for months, effectively killing its momentum and losing its loyal audience forever. The show got the axe after just 1 season, leaving Davis absolutely crushed. She had poured her soul into that project and, even years later, admitted the sting never quite went away. In the background, a new passion was taking root that would come to define her impact far beyond any movie role. It was 2004 when she noticed something off while watching cartoons with her 2-year-old daughter. The screen was basically a boys' club, with male characters totally overshadowing the girls. She dug into the data and found the results were grim. Back then, only 11% of family movies had female leads, and boys outnumbered girls in kids' media nearly 3-1. That single realization sparked the launch of the Geena Davis Institute on Gender in Media later that same year. Teaming up with the University of Southern California, her group kicked off a massive research initiative. Since then, they have worked hand in hand with major studios and streamers to flip the script on representation. By 2014, she had partnered with the United Nations to release the first ever global deep dive into how women are portrayed on film. In 2015, she doubled down by launching the Bentonville Film Festival, a platform specifically built to lift up voices that Hollywood usually ignores. Her team even built an AI tool to scan scripts for diversity gaps, which industry giants like Disney and Universal started using by 2019. Their own tracking shows a massive shift since 2004, when leading ladies were rare and male characters dominated the scene 3-1. Fast forward to today, and we have basically hit gender parity for lead roles in American kids' TV and movies. It is a huge, measurable win compared to 20 years ago. It is easy to overlook this success until you realize how stagnant things were before she decided to put the data in front of the people in power. Her tireless work earned her an honorary Oscar in 2019, followed by the Academy's Governor's Award 3 years later. She also delivered a powerhouse performance on Grey's Anatomy as a brilliant fetal surgeon, a role that gave her some of the most intense acting challenges of her career. Around that time, she jumped into the horror genre with The Exorcist and starred in a thoughtful sci-fi drama about memory called Marjorie Prime. She also joined the cast of the Netflix hit Glow, playing a savvy TV executive in the world of 80s women's wrestling. In late 2022, her memoir, Dying of Politeness, hit the shelves and immediately became a bestseller, detailing her journey from being a shy kid to a woman who takes no crap. Looking ahead, she has published a children's book and is set to star in a new Netflix sci-fi series from the creators of Stranger Things in 2026. We started by asking what really happened to Geena Davis, and honestly, the truth is way cooler than the rumors. She outlived a massive career setback that would have ended anyone else and completely reinvented herself on her own terms. Between becoming a world-class archer in her 40s and literally changing the face of media, she has built a legacy that is entirely her own. The struggle was real, but what she built afterward was even more impressive. If her story resonates with you or brings back memories of her iconic movies, let us talk about it in the comments. To see more deep dives into lives like this, hit that like button and make sure to subscribe. We have plenty more stories on the way.